This is a fascinating affidavit, and I'm just going to read it. It's by Dr. John Vincent, and it's dated July 31st, 1975. And this is basically where the entire legend of Murphy's Ranch, as far as I can tell, comes from. Hi, my name is Hadley Meares, and I'm a writer and historian based in Los Angeles. Well, I became an expert on Murphy's Ranch because years ago, when I first moved to LA, I went to Murphy's Ranch, and I was absolutely fascinated by it. It was right before it became such a scene. There were a few other people down there, but there weren't a ton of people. And as I was just walking around, I heard little snippets of the legend of, oh, it was a Nazi compound, oh, it was raided the day of Pearl Harbor, the day after Pearl Harbor. And I was like, I can't believe that's true, but it would be so cool if it was. So it was always kind of my ultimate get. I was like, someday I'm gonna figure out what happened to Murphy's Ranch. And I still haven't figured it out, by the way. Nobody ever will, I don't think. Unless one of the descendants of whoever bought the property in the name of Jessie Murphy, widow, comes forward and says what happened. Basically, the entire legend of Murphy Ranch comes from one affidavit. And this one affidavit was written by a man named Dr. John Vincent. And he claimed to have met a Norman and Winona Stevens when he was visiting Murphy's Ranch in 1948. Mrs. Stevens, Winona, who was a rich heiress from Chicago, she was very interested in metaphysical and kind of spiritual, otherworldly things. And Stevens claimed that they met a man named Herr Schmidt. And Herr Schmidt told them that Germany was going to take over the United States, and that basically the end of times or some kind of apocalyptic event was about to occur. Which it was, because World War II came several years after. And they claimed that he told them they needed to build a self-sustaining compound that would kind of embody nationalist socialist principles in America. Well, we know for a fact what was built on the compound in the 1930s was a barn. There was some kind of steel garage house that was on the property. At least we know it was on the property by the late 30s, when the firm of Paul Williams was hired to draw the next set of plans for the Stevens kind of dream of this utopian Nazi palace or celestial palace or Western White House. And here's the plot map. So this is the map this is how we know some of these buildings that are there. Over the past few years, Murphy's Ranch has become a very popular spot for hikers and sightseers. I've been there multiple times. I've lead tours there. I take anyone from out of town there because it's a cool, weird place to see, and there's also a lot of awesome graffiti there now, which is actually quite beautiful. And it's gotten more and more overrun with tourists. A lot of kids go down there to make out and smoke weed and deface the place. A lot of homeless people hang out there, so it's kind of gotten increasingly unsafe. It's such a cool mystery, and it's one of those kind of local legends and local lores that bands people together, especially when you live in such a disparate, giant city. And I kind of feel like I don't really want to know what happened at Murphy's Ranch. I want everyone to feel that they think they know what happened there. I've furnished the following information. I first became acquainted with the Murphy Ranch in 1948. The facilities constructed on the ranch were part of a plan to establish a self-sufficient farm based on National Socialist ideals. Norman Stevens was a mining engineer with silver mining interest, and his wife was the daughter of a wealthy Chicago industrialist who manufactured tacks. She had come to California with her mother and had an income from a trust. She was intrigued with metaphysical and supernatural phenomena and fell under the influence of a persuasive man named Schmidt, who convinced her that he had superhuman powers. Mrs. Stevens was so impressed with Schmidt that she believed implicitly his warning that the end of the world was at hand. He advised them to build a protective wall and isolate themselves behind it. building a completely self-sufficient establishment where they and a select group could survive for at least a year and defend themselves if necessary. He convinced them that war was imminent, that Hitler's Germany was sure to defeat the United States, and that California would probably be destroyed in the process. Here in this mountain enclave, the chosen few would survive and after the Holocaust emerge to repopulate the country.
UCKYA